Hiya, and welcome back to Far Beyond the World. Oh god, that's loud. Why do I have it up so high? The game that teaches us that, But I can't think of anything, I genuinely cannot think of anything. Let's just hop right in. I'm alone once again. Hiya. Oh yeah, I noticed you weren't here, yesterday. The, VOD's on YouTube. Yeah, not a whole lot has happened. What you missed out, I'll catch you up real quick. So, Rannoch kissed us. He isn't straight, like, at all. And that's, like, the entire subject for the previous stream, I feel like. Without actually saying it. The unsettling feeling slowly creeps to my stomach, but I won't let myself be tortured. With the free time on my hands, I'm going to look through the books again, but first, I need some breakfast. I unfold the parcel to reveal a selection of meats and cheeses and fetch myself a fresh bun. Hey, yo. What happened? There we go. Yeah, my headphones unplugged. I unfold the parcel to reveal a selection of meats and cheeses and fetch myself a fresh bun. It's sad that our joint breakfast didn't come to pass. Yo. Fuck Tano. Fuck that twink. But it's more the reason to not allow this food to go to waste. I simply dig in, enjoying my meal in peace and quiet. With everyone gone, the day drags on mercilessly. I've spent a few hours just sitting there and mulling over everything that happened. The feast, the dance, the kiss. As much as I want to agree that this space will be good for us, I can't help but crave to just bury myself into my wolf. My wolf. God, I am so clingy. I laugh it off, shaking my head. Only now I notice that I'm fiddling with my collar. The damned thing, I try to hate it, but it also feels oddly satisfying, as if Rannoch claimed me as his own. I mean, it is the case to a degree. Perhaps not exactly in the fashion of me calling him mine, but similar possessiveness. It's flattering, I guess, in a messed up sort of way. Which is fitting my current circumstance. As the morning stretches into an afternoon, I think about means of killing some time. I remember the chief asking me if I came from Freyfall. There was a book around here mentioning that name. I've stumbled upon it when I was cleaning. I decide to retrieve it, as learning what it actually means to be a human in this world would come in handy. I find the tome in the bedroom, lying on the windowsill. Is it windowsill? Windowsill. Brief history of Freyfall. I place the book on the bed and fetch myself a cup of ale, knowing full well it will be a laborsome read. I sit myself comfortably on the mattress, my back resting against the headboard, and I simply flip the cover. The opening is a grueling task to get through, again filled with names and dates that mean very little to me. However, the one thing that sticks out is the namesake herself, Frey. Apparently, she was a sorceress of great power back in the Age of Men. From context, I assume humans once ruled over this world, although the book so far doesn't state what exactly caused the situation to change. Frey was part of what the book refers to as a pantheon, a group of exceptionally gifted individuals who guided early humans. It seems this book is a part of a series, as it often refers to another title called Twilight of Men, which apparently deals with the breaking of the pantheons. It would seem Frey's clique wasn't the only one overseeing the development of mankind. Different pantheons looking after their own tribes, often competing with one another. I cannot help but feel like all of this is vaguely familiar. Anyway, Frey had her last stand in the lands east of here, where she fell defeated by the Aspects, whatever that means. Ever since, the area was forever known as Freyfall, to commemorate the valiant defiance of the sorceress and her attempts to save mankind from targeted genocide. swear to God, I can't speak English. Thanks to her noble sacrifice, the Aspects weren't able to wipe out all of humanity, and were forced to retreat into hiding. From the ashes of their once mighty empires, the remaining humans formed what is called successor kingdoms, petty realms which forever after struggled to survive against the tide of the beast folk. I shut the book with confusion. This leaves more questions than gives answers, and I don't think I like to learn I'm an extinct species. It just doesn't feel right. Vague familiarity aside, this now reads like a poorly written fanfiction. However, since I'm here, I cannot help but feel unsettled by this information. Am I really from this world? Am I a part of a dying race? The bigger question is, why will the Aspects, whoever they are, want to wipe out humanity to begin with? Sure, we have some issues, but these wolves don't seem to be saints either. If there are some supervising beings looking over this world, I think 1 verbal and 2 written ones would be a better policy rather than skipping straight to global-scale genocide. As I'm about to open the book again, I hear knocking on the outer door and assume it's Vol. It's been a while, so this means Rannoch has most likely left already. When I open the doors, I'm greeted with Verissa instead. Oh, you're back. You almost sound disappointed. She chuckles, pushing past me. I promised Rannoch I'd get the dress done, so here I am. The female points to the chair and unpacks from her pouch a white thread with a shining needle embedded into the spool. Get up, I need to readjust the height after Vol manhandled you. He hardly touched me. I smile awkwardly as I walk onto the chair. Kind of you to say, but that's beside the point. Verissa picks up a few pins and secures them between her lips. She tugs at the fabric, making sure that it aligns properly again. When she's happy with the new wedge, she simply fastens the dress bit by bit. I let her work without interruption until eventually she is done. Right, take it off, but gently. We don't want it to get crooked. I nod and proceed with caution. Once the dress is in her possession, she simply unfolds it into her paws and seats herself comfortably at the table. I watch as she strings the thread through the needle, slowly getting down to sewing. How's the spectacle, then? She muses as she pulls the needle through the fabric. Not that bad, actually. I mutter uncomfortably. She sounds unconvinced, but I don't really want to add to her misgivings about Vol. True, he might be a bit short-fused, but I'm sure he has his reasons for it. And so far, it seems that scolding him for it doesn't yield any desirable results. He's not that bad, just grumpy. Ha! She laughs sarcastically, her paw going up and down with the thread dancing merrily in the air in long waves. That's one way of putting it. Vol's very much a powder keg. A slightest spark can set him off in the most spectacular of ways. I frown, really saddened to hear that. Was he always that way? Oh yes, Vol was pretty much enraged ever since he was a pup. I've gotten quite immune to his tantrums. For your sake, I hope you will too. He won't harm me, I say with utmost confidence. After all, he did swear on the Moonstone, and so far I've no reason to doubt him. Maybe, but anxiety caused by his rampages isn't exactly healthy either. I could sense her heart from the other room. He had you in a proper state. She gives me a concerned look, and I have to concede. He is stressing me out a lot. I honestly wonder how he does it. The female sighs, returning to her task. Huh? Rannoch, how he deals with him is beyond me. I'm sure it's because Vol is worth the hassle. I can see her struggle to subdue a smile, and she sighs again. This time, more amused than resigned. He does make it seem like it at times, doesn't he? But like with any delusions, this one wears off quite fast. Usually by his own choice. Her expression returns to a slight scowl, and she continues looping the thread through the dress's edge. It's clear those two have some issues, especially with how Vol's now clear infatuation with the female. She leaves no doubt that the feeling is unreciprocated. Oh my god, Vulgor is a simp. I wonder if it's just the way it is, or perhaps something he has done. He seems very much keen on you. Keen on me? She blinks, giving me a confused look. No. I'd say he's keen on the idea of me. What's the difference? The lack of trying to understand who I actually am, for a start. Ever since he proclaimed his interest in me, it was solely on the fact that I strike his fancy. Small, slender, curvy, white like the moon. That's all he sees me at. That's all he sees me as. She scoffs, and her voice betrays a hint of hurt. Seriously, what idiot would dump a fortune into a damned silk dress? especially on the assumption that as a female I should wet myself in excitement at the sight of it. She ruffles the garment in my direction. This is an insult, not a gift. I'm not a den wife. I will never be a polite little mother raising other wolves' pups. If he had spent at least some time of his day to actually get to know me rather than objectify me. She almost stifles a growl, her paws tensing around the fabric. She's taking this very personally. Every wolf is the same. I don't know what I expected. Look at you. Verissa scoffs, waving her paw at me. Wait, why is she bringing me into this? Sailing indeed. That's all they see. A tight fit. She cuts off, looking at me in surprise that she actually went that far. I just sit there, as if petrified by Medusa's gaze. Verissa simply throws her head to the side and coughs nervously. Sorry, I didn't mean to imply anything. All I'm saying, we're more than just our looks. I hastily nod, wishing I could just explode into a cloud of dust and disappear. The female returns to her task and simply continues sewing, more determination in her movements betraying she wants to be done with it as fast as possible. I share her sentiment. This little rant went sideways quick and put me on a rather uncomfortable spot. I don't hold a grudge. Clearly she's upset by the way Vol treats her. I also think there's a hint of regret, as if she expected more of the male. Perhaps his feelings towards her aren't as unreciprocated as I initially thought. What's more important? I think she's suspecting something between me and Rannoch. First the conversation at the Moon Shrine, now this. I appreciate her discretion and apparent supportiveness, but I have to disagree. Perhaps Vol does objectify her a lot, and Rannoch's choice for my nickname seems now tad unfortunate in the context, but the Grey Wolf is different. If anything, me being a human seems to trouble Rannoch as much as I'm troubled by him being a wolf. Yes, there is surface-level attraction, but from our heart-to-heart, I think it's clear we're both drawn to our personalities. I feel sorry for what she goes through, especially since Vol seems very much capable of more. We just sit there in silence while she finishes her handiwork. Once she's done, she bites off the thread to separate it from the needle. Right, I'm not a professional, but this should hold as long as you're not rough with it. She passes me back the garment, and I put it on. It falls freely to my knees, and I must admit I enjoy my new tunic. Since Rannoch isn't here, you aren't required at the feast. She states matter-of-factly, and I take it as, you're not wanted there. Okay. Vol should bring you some food in the evening. Her very sudden shift of demeanor betrays she's uncomfortable, most likely feeling that she has said too much. Despite wanting company, I decide not to hold her back. This was quite too personal even for my liking. Stay safe, Verissa utters, collecting her things and rushing towards the doors. She pulls on the handle and cracks them open. The female stops for a moment, looking back at me almost as if she wanted to say something, but instead she just sighs and shakes her head. Bye, I mutter, watching as the door closes, and I'm alone again. I spend my time between figuring out how to start the fire and deciphering more of that fantastical book. To my own surprise, I managed to get the hearth going after just an hour of tinkering with Rannoch's antiques. I nibble on what's left from the breakfast and wash it down with some beer while I continue my read. Apparently the lions are one of the main reasons why my kin are such a rare sight. They arrived in Avalon bent on conquest and establishing their own kingdom, subjugating all of the folk living there. Their first target were the humans of Freyfall, whom lions viewed as inferior and unfit to live in their new domain. They laid waste to the land, butchering entire towns and villages, finally standing at the very gates of the human capital in these lands. Freyrun was the largest city on the continent, grand and wondrous, a last vestige of the humanity of old. The lions had no means of breaching the city with its massive stone walls, so at first they resorted to starving it out. But the humans of Freyfall stood firm, resupplying their city through the river. Impatient, the lions decided to terrorize the populace into submission. Each night they would catapult half-eaten human cadavers into the city, aimed at breaking the spirit of the defenders. But the humans stood firm, days, then weeks. In the end, it wasn't their spirit that failed, but their bodies. Sickness and disease overwhelmed the city, and after nearly a year of siege, Freyrun capitulated. To show others the price of such brave defiance, the lions put the city to the sword and torch. What follows is a detailed account of rape, plunder, with some paragraphs going as far as calling the lions kin-eaters, something which seems to be one of the most monstrous stigmas another kin can bear. What the fuck? I must admit, I'm relieved to learn that cannibalism between the kins is frowned upon, but equally unsettled that lions resorted to devouring those they considered lesser. And it would seem humans weren't the only ones on the menu, but the sylvan folk as well. No wonder other kin rebelled. The rebellion itself is a muddled jumble of dates and events, which spanning a century are easy to confuse. Despite being lost half the time, I finally realized why tigers are brought up so much in my context. After the success of the Tiger Rebellion, Freyfall became a province of the Tiger Realm, and although now mainly populated by tiger folk, humans are still a sizable minority there. It also seems they're very much respected, and according to the book, partake in the governance of Tigeron. Hang on. Man, lions fucking suck. Like, these lions, they suck. I guess a human tigery noble isn't such a crazy idea after all. As for the lions, tigers have banished them, forcing entire prides into exile, to leave the continent and never to return. A fitting end for those murdering monsters. If at least half of the stuff I read is true, then I definitely do not want to meet a lion. I closed the book trying to digest this information. It all seems so surreal and very much out of place. I don't feel part of this world. Some of the information is familiar, but my head is also filled with jumble that doesn't fit the context. I'm more and more convinced that I have somehow stepped through the looking glass. I stay like that for a while, just enjoying the fire and musing. With my mind sated with a lot of new knowledge, both general and personal, I have an easy time keeping my thoughts in check. Hopping between Rannoch's struggles and Verissa's heartaches, I get to avoid the darkness stalking the recesses of my mind. In fact, focusing on their hardship seems almost as effective at grounding me in reality as Rannoch himself is. I feel sorry for the male. I have been giving him a lot of unnecessary flack without even considering how hard his day-to-day life really is. I'm also a bit disappointed with Vul. I hope to get some time to check the ground around him. Despite Verissa's words, she does seem to feel something towards the male, and it would be a shame if he ruined his chances by acting like a toxic male. I half suspect he's only doing it because he thinks it's expected of him. I don't think Vulgor is confident in his masculinity. He's not confident in it. Just as I'm slowly dozing off, I hear knocking that stirs me up again. Speak of the devil. Piglet? I rush to the doors and open them hastily. The wolf walks in holding a sizable pastry in his hands. Nice, you even managed not to burn the place down. Steak and kidney pie. He places it on the table and looks at me uncomfortably. I'm sorry it took this long. They wouldn't let me leave the feast. In fact, I have to head back there, so I can't stay. Oh, it's okay. I'm slightly disappointed, but I muster a brave smile. Don't give me that, kid. If you're of age, you can deal with one day on your own. I didn't say anything, but you were about to think it. I chuckle at his accusation. Either way, you better get some sleep. I'll be coming to fetch you just before the dawn. Huh? Why? You're coming with me to the butchery. To do some forced labor. I grumble, but he's having none of my snark. To have some company, as Rannoch prescribed it. I don't have the luxury of fucking around in someone else's house. He scoffs at me and walks back towards the door. Seriously, get rested, because I don't want you bitching over my ears the whole day tomorrow. Okay, I will. I just wave him away and allow the wolf to leave.
Mission received. Make Vulgor's life hell.
Once he's gone, I just sit down and take a curious glance at the pie. It's still warm and slightly steamy. I fetch myself one of the forks Rannoch borrowed from the villa and dig in. Let's make his life hell. I feel like making his life hell. However, seeing how succulent and juicy it is on the inside, I feel rather uncomfortable eating it in my brand new silk dress. I look around and locate a hand towel in the cupboard. I use it as a napkin to safeguard my fancy garment and continue. Just take it off. The pie is very hearty with soft stewed meat and onion slices covered in delicious gravy. An excellent way to end a rather dull day, if one discounts the morning kerfuffle. The meal does the trick. It fills my belly and makes me extremely drowsy. I down 1 glass of water and quickly wash up before I retreat to the bedroom. I take great care while undressing, folding my clothes gently onto the chest. As I slip into the linens, I dart my gaze between the warm fire in the hearth and the cold world outside. I hope Rannoch's comfortable. I like to imagine he's camping out there in the woods, looking into similar flame, hopefully with similar longing. Good luck, Woof. See you soon. I close my eyes and simply drift away into the memory of his warm embrace. Simp. The gray wolf fills my dreams, his scent, his kind gaze, and the way his fur feels against my naked skin. Oddly enough, I am aware it's just a wish away. However, I give in to it completely. Despite him barely leaving, I'm already starved for his presence, and his image gives me peace. I spend the night in his sweet surrender until a sudden jolt stirs me up. The world is shaking and I'm bouncing up and down, almost leaping out of bed in complete confusion when everything comes to a halt. Good, finally awake.
Finally awake. You were trying to cross the border, right?
I sit there, looking dumbfounded and clutching my chest as the black wolf lets go of the bed frame. What the fuck, Vol? For a moment, he narrows his eyes at my familiarity, but decides to let it slide. I was knocking for a good while. You were sleeping like a rock. Indeed, it might have been one of the calmest nights I've experienced so far. Up to this point. I throw my gaze towards the window only to be met by darkness. It's the middle of the night. Just before dawn, actually. And we have work to do. I know Rannoch has a tendency to be a good den mother, but encouraging idleness and sloth does not nurture a strong character. I blink at him in slight annoyance. Sloth? I was sleeping! Quite comfortably as well, inside your master's bed. When the wolf's away, the wards play. The male scoffs and I'm not entirely sure if he's teasing anymore. I've been sleeping here for the past week. I notice his brow raising in curiosity and realize that perhaps I shouldn't have said that. And where was he? On the kitchen floor. He looks back into the other room with clear discomfort and then gives me a rather patronizing stare. You shouldn't abuse his hospitality like that. It's his bed and he needs to be rested to perform his duties. I don't think admitting we share the bed would sit well with the Black Wolf, so I decide to shrug it off. Besides, it's none of his business what sleeping arrangements we have. He insisted. Anyway, thanks for the gentle wake-up. I mumble ironically, rubbing my sleepy eyes. If you don't hear an intruder enter your bedchamber, be happy it was shaking that stirred you up and not a dagger. I've already met your dagger. I wink at him, giving myself an idle stretch and flopping my arms onto the bedding. Besides, you're talking as if you have to be on edge all the damned time. Maybe not at home, but when camping out there, being vigilant is the only thing that keeps you firmly in the land of the living. Now get up. I'll start the fire. Rannoch made me promise that I'll feed you well. As if a butcher would starve a piglet. He mutters, disappearing into the kitchen. I throw off the covers and immediately met by the extremely chilly morning. Perhaps the coldest one yet, and my teeth begin to chatter. Damn this weather, if it could make up its mind. What did you expect? It's early spring. I can hear him rustle around, pieces of wood clanking together as he arranges them securely within the hearth. We'll also need to get you some more firewood. Swinging an axe will be a good experience, considering your twigs for arms. I frown, looking over my naked body. I approach the chest and caress the folded dress. I half wonder if it's a good idea for me to wear it. 1, I don't want to aggravate the male, but 2, would be a shame to soil it in the butchery. Don't put it on, he says, appearing in the doorway and causing me to wince, half expecting another outburst. Yet he seems oddly indifferent. It might be yours now, but I still paid for it. If you ruin it, we'll have to have a little chat. He sneers and pretty much confirms my assumption. Silk dresses are no good at a butchery. It's cold, though. I mumble, looking to him in slight discomfort. You can put on one of Rannoch's cloaks like you did before. It'll get warmer once the sun comes out anyway. I nod. In truth, it'll be It'll be some comfort having a piece of my wolf around, especially with how testy Vol can be. I join him in the kitchen, seeing the fire already dance merrily. Walking to the cupboard, I find the same old water in the bowl. I open the window and simply toss it outside. I brought you fresh water from the spring. It's in the bucket by the door. The black wolf points out and a nod in gratitude. Is there a spring nearby? Close enough. He responds indifferently as I lift up the handle. It's quite heavy, but I'm not going to complain in front of him. He'll just call me a weakling again in words of his choice. Save some in the jug for cooking and drinking. Rest you can use for wash-up. I nod, looking at the task at hand with worry. The bucket isn't big enough to dunk the pitcher in it, and I know I won't be able to lift it high enough without making a huge spill. Suddenly I have an idea. I grab the pitcher and secure it beneath the bucket as I balance it on the edge of the table. That's it. Mind over matter, every time. I tilt it gently, allowing the water to spill over the edge right into the jug's opening, while he secures a pan in the fireplace. I place the bucket heavily onto the floor, looking back at the wolf. He's either ignoring me or trying to pretend he's not paying attention, but I immediately recognize the familiar, satisfied flickers of his tail. Oh god. Oh god, the world's ending. His tail might start wagging. They might have a built-in heart rate monitor, but their tails are instant mood giveaways. I just shake my head and decide to continue with my morning routine. I need to use the privy if you don't mind. Why would I? He shrugs and I take it as his approval for me to take my leave. Once I'm back, I can hear the eggs and bacon already sizzling happily on the hot plate as I approach the cupboard. I wash up, trying not to complain too much about how cold the water is. Despite the outhouse being one of the low points of my stay here, my mood quickly lifts up. The smell filling the room is so reminiscent of my first breakfast in this house. I dry myself off and I sit at the table to be greeted with a single plate. There's 2 sunny side ups and a large marbled slice of ham. You're not going to eat? I don't breakfast until noon. Or break fast until noon. Why's that? I raise my brow as he passes me one of yesterday's rolls. I like to work up an appetite. Also, the late night feasting keeps you full throughout the night and morning. Makes sense. Doesn't sound healthy, though. He gives me a mocking gaze, spreading his arms and inviting me to inspect his musculature. Said the guy who gets sick because of flowers and dust. I shake my head and simply dig in. Vol waits patiently, helping himself to a mug of ale while I finish my meal. I down it as fast as I can, washing it down with a cup of water every now and then. I kinda miss other things. Maybe not sodas, but tea or coffee would be nice. Between the water, wine, and ale, there doesn't seem to be much variety. You're done dallying? He asks, finished with his drink. Yes. I exhale, swallowing my last gulp, putting the cup down. The wolf then uses what little water was left in the bucket to douse the fire, and I put out the candles. I rush to the rack to grab the green cloak. Is this it? No. No. Yes. Once it's fastened around my neck, I carefully pick up the dandelion and place it in my pen. Vol only gives me a curious glance but doesn't inquire further, and I'm glad for it. Really don't feel like explaining this. As we leave the house, the sky slowly fills with teal and pink hues, announcing the incoming sunrise. I don't think I ever started a day this early. If so, it definitely wasn't a norm. We both hop over the uneven step, with Vol trying to contain an approving smirk. We don't talk on our way towards the village center, most likely on the account of wolves slowly emerging from their domiciles, however you pronounce that. I notice smoke already rising from Vither's chimney, and there's an undeniable scent of baked bread spreading across the street. I catch a glimpse of the male in his doorway and nod to him respectfully, to which he only smiles. Slim Diego. As dignified as I try to be, I stumble on a little stone and nearly lose my footing. That's when Vol grabs my arm mid-flight, saving my face from hitting the dirt. The embarrassment is empowered by the bombastic laughter of the brown male reaching me from his house. Despite my little trip, we don't stop, and Vol pulls me forward, interrupting a little massage I was giving to my toes. Walking barefoot has really done a number on my soles. The roads are mostly packed earth with little debris on them, but still my feet ache a little. Considering I have just gotten a silk dress, asking for shoes might sound a bit ungrateful and needy. Moreover, as far as I can see, none of them wears any. I wonder if they even know what shoes are. As we enter the village center, I'm quite surprised at how animated the place becomes just at the break of dawn. There's a myriad of activities, with wolves attending to their respective trades. I can see a fishmonger setting up his shop, and merely plopping down boxes of fresh catch. Did he fish at night? I see flocks of chickens and ducks being chased from the path by someone pushing a wheelbarrow filled with chopped wood. On the far side, a pair of wolves carry a huge crate towards what I assume is a smithy. The place is bustling and everyone's rushing about their business. While here, keep your yapping to a minimum. The black male mutters as we approach his shop and I nod. It's not like I plan on being chatty right in the heart of their village, especially with the stockades in the field of view. As we enter his shop, I look around, first time seeing the place from the inside. There are two counters on opposite sides, both suited for chopping and cutting meats. Different hooks hang from the ceiling, holding up joints and carcasses of recent kills. It's not exactly an appealing workplace, if I'm to be honest. I know you're a talker, but this area gets quite busy. You can whisper to me while you're facing the back wall. I have good hearing. Just don't open your head hole when facing the town. I give him a bemused look, but not in agreement. There's plenty of work to do, so having another set of paws will be appreciated. Okay. Right. I've set a workstation for you there. He points to the back wall where the other counter is. It'll keep you from drawing too much attention. Speaking of, he grumbles as his ear twitches. He's looking back towards the village center, and I must admit, his hearing is quite impressive. There, though still some distance from us, I notice a familiar wolf guard's approach, carrying what looks like a medium-sized boar. Those two are definitely gay. Hey there, Vulgor. Got a delivery for you, says the male that kept watch over me. Hello. He has a wide smile, but quickly locks his startled gaze with mine. The black male inspects the kill as they hold it in their hands, while Dreher keeps eyeing me out. More luck than brains. A bit to the left and you'd rupture the gallbladder. Sorry, was trying my hardest. The other wolf snickers, but Vol does not find it amusing and issues a subdued growl. Try harder next time. That's when he notices Dreher's invasive gaze. What are you staring at? Nothing. The wolf mumbles in response, looking to his friend for help, but the other one simply turns away. That's what I thought. Now get lost. Okay, jeez. I wait until they're out of earshot and whisper discreetly. He's Vither's son, isn't he? Aren't those two from Rannoch's pack? Yeah, how did you know? I can add 2 and 2 together. I shrug. I thought they would have gone with him. No. Rannoch left alone. Why? I ask, rather unsettled that he is out there on his own. It's a scouting mission. Rannoch has higher stamina than most. They would only slow him down. I frown, but before I can dwell on this, Vol throws me a condescending look. I assume you're squeamish. Yeah? Why? Because I'm about to be elbow deep in Spore's guts. He scoffs and I wince uncomfortably. Oh, yeah, that's not my type of thing. Then fetch me a bucket so you don't have to see it. Okay. I nod and look around. It's by the door. He points and I quickly grab it. Once I place the bucket at his feet, he reaches up to one of the hooks. Right, this is a hind leg. He huffs as he dismounts the slab of meat and carries it towards the back table. The limb drops onto the surface with a loud thud, causing the various metal tools to dance. Here's a knife and cleaver. He points to the side. I need you to remove all the meat from the bone. I've never done this before. You have 2 paws, don't you? He scoffs. All you need to do is chop and cut. It doesn't matter if you shred the meat. It's all going through the grinder anyway. He shrugs and walks back to his own station. Okay. I mutter and look at the massive hunk of meat with doubt. Without much choice, I simply reach for the cleaver and begin hacking at the slab. Despite putting a lot of effort behind each swing, I cannot sink the blade deeper than an inch or two. Oh no. He tries to ignore me for a while, but my labored huffs and grunts finally draws Vol's attention. Seriously? Don't you have any muscle? I stretch out my arms. What sort of a question is that? I'm all skin and bones. A pup could chop better than that. Here. He grumbles, forcing me back to face the workbench and taking hold of my wrists. Oh no. I'm getting the Rannoch treatment again. He squeezes my wrists much more harshly than the Grey Wolf would, but my attention is drawn to his rigid form pressing against my back. I don't even notice when he pulls my chopping arm high up and slightly behind as I'm flushed with embarrassment at his warmth seeping through my cloak and skin. What is wrong with me? I'm drawn back to reality as he crushes my wrist, forcing my arm to swing down. With his aid, I can hear the blade sink all the way through into the bone. There you go, see? He smirks, pulling away, and I do not dare to face him. Yeah. I mumble, certain that my face is painted red. I continue with my task, hoping that with each chop, the workout I put myself through will either extinguish my blush or at least mask it behind some sweat. Every now and then, I can hear some squelch or other sickening sound coming from behind me, as Vol guts the boar. I try to stay on my task and keep myself distracted. Despite appearances, hacking at this meat is not as simple as it looks. 10 or 20 chops in, my arm begins to numb and burn. I'm going to regret this come the morrow. Come the morrow. I chuckle to myself. I even started talking like them. A loud crunching noise announces that my blade has struck a bone. I struggle with pulling it out, but when I finally do, Vol is already standing behind me. Work around the bone as closely as you can. You can hear the rest of the meat. You can clear the rest of the meat with a knife. Hey, yo, what's like going on? Okay, like died for a second. What is this for? I ask, looking back at him with slight confusion. We'll be making sausages. Yo, why is there like network issues? Hang on. Like, give it a second. The wolf shrugs and returns back to his workstation. Oh, cool. A brief smile quickly turns into a cringe, as this time there's a loud, long slushing sound. It's almost as if Volt emptied a bunch of wet pellets into the bucket. When another slush of guts reaches my ears, I simply put down the blade and wince uncomfortably. You're such a wimp. The sound was bad enough, but now feel my innards tie in a knot as the wretched stench of blood and bile envelops the shop. It's sweet and sickening. Triggers my gag reflex, and I barely stop myself from emptying my own stomach. Hey, you vomit in here, and Rannoch will have to scrape you off that wall. The wolf growls, and I try to compose myself, but another wave of sweet and festering smell almost pushes me over the edge. Sorry, just the... Oh god. I burst through the side door, not even looking where I'm going. Taking shelter in the back room, I rest myself against the wall, away from the stench and gore of the meat shop. Vol's mocking laughter only empowers the uncomfortable position I found myself in. Quit your whining, I'm nearly done. He calls out, but I do not dare to step outside just yet. I take a few rattled breaths to settle my stomach, but it's a struggle, as my diaphragm seizes up and does not let go, almost as if it turned to stone. Fuck. This is literally the worst day of my life, and I get to say that without being overly dramatic. Considering all I can remember is the last 7 days, even including being stabbed, this is the worst. I finally feel the cramps let up, and my breathing is less restricted. There's still a large lump stuck inside my throat, but I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. Once I feel I regain control over my gagging, I slowly step outside. I try to look unfazed, but Vol's snickering leaves no doubt he found my little stunt amusing. The smell of iron still lingers in the air, and worse yet, I can now taste it, which is disturbing to say the least. I muster all my willpower to remain strong and grab my cleaver to return to work. I try to act casual, but it isn't easy. I really need a distraction, so I decide to engage him. Do you like what you do? Ugh. The male grumbles, his amusement suddenly gone. I mean, was this your choice, or... I hear more yapping than chopping, Piglet. He points out in an irritated tone, and I resume my task. Sorry. I hack at the meat, working around the bone as instructed. Manage a few swings before another slush of guts makes me whimper. My breathing speeds up, which in turn causes me to inhale more of that repugnant stench. I cover my face, trying to calm myself down before I will unleash my own bile all over the place. No, it wasn't my choice. Vol breaks the silence, drawing my attention away from my nausea. Hardly anything is anyone's choice here, but I learned to enjoy it. You enjoy the gore? I mumble through the hand covering my nose, causing the wolf to scoff. I enjoy the food, stupid. Preparing meat, smoking, roasting, it's extremely satisfying when your job is appreciated, and no one appreciates anything more than a good meal. Yeah, that sounds about right. I try to nod. However, this little experience is effectively obliterating my appetite. I really cannot think about food right now, otherwise I will hurl. I'm sure there are other things to appreciate about you. What did I say about that chopping? He cuts me off and I nod hastily, again hacking at the slab of meat in front of me. Eventually, the peak of my unease passes as either the smell is carried away by the wind or my nose gets used to it. For the next half an hour, I keep at detaching large chunks of meat from the leg until I'm left with the fleshy stump that's no longer suitable for the cleaver. Not bad. Full nods with approval, inspecting my work once he heard the hacking stop. Now get the knife and try to salvage as much as you can. I nod and proceed to do as I'm told, filleting the meat. The blade is extremely sharp and it just glides through the sinew as if it were butter. It really doesn't take long, and eventually I can see white bone shine beneath a thin layer of flesh. Might have been an hour or so since I started, and it's hard to believe I managed to butcher an entire hind leg of a boar, but here we are. Vol approaches me, wiping his bloodied paws into a cloth he tosses carelessly aside. You left some at the ends. He scrutinizes my work, pointing to the joints. It's hard to get the knife around there. Still, pretty good for a first time. I smile at his praise. Should I try some more? Nah, I'm going to boil it down anyway. He waves his paw at me. For soup? To clean them, you idiot. What do you need to clean bones for? To ground them in a bone meal. We use it as fertilizer, or to make glue. We've got several tanners in the tribe. They require loads of stuff. Huh. The more you learn. Vol lifts the now gutted boar carcass and takes it into the back room. I just stand there, in the shop front, looking at the disgusted bucket filled with what used to be the beast's innards. Despite my nose getting used to the smell, the look of the glistening organs bathed in blood and bile make my own bowels churn. Not to mention all the flies that began to fester on this gore. Oh god, fuck. Once Vol is back, I look at him pleadingly. What are we going to do with that? Chuck it somewhere? Are you insane? That's still food. He scoffs at me and I shudder. Ew. What do you think that kidney pie was made out of? It weren't beans, kid. He laughs, and despite having a point, I cannot help but notice entrails mixed in there as well. But those are guts. What do you think we'll use as a casing for our sausage? Nope. Nope. Fuck you, Vulgor. I quit. I don't want to work in your butchery anymore. I hate it. What? Gross. I jump up with a terrible scowl, throwing my gaze away from that grotesque bucket. All I can hear is the wolf's tail giving an energetic swoosh as Vol issues a rather playful growl. And the world is ending. Great. His tail is wagging. Oh, this is going to be fun. He lifts up the bucket and walks towards the back room. Come. He places it on the table and pulls up a bowl. I try not to look as he rummages through the contents. Every now and then I hear a wet slop of an organ dropping into the separate dish. That should be everything. He nods, looking back at me with his bloodied paws. You'll get to sort out the intestines. No, no! I protest as my eyes dilate in terror. Man up, Piglet! He scoffs as he walks past me into the shop. I have a business to run. It's not as hard as it looks. I'm sorry, like, that, and like, literally all that came to mind was Chris Chan. Just Chris Chan. I swear. It's a rather phallic shape. It's Chris Chan. I have a business to run. It's not as hard as it looks. My legs refuse to budge from the spot, but I know I don't have much choice in the matter. I really don't want to look like a stuck-up, and technically Vol is doing me a favor. If I want him to warm up to me, I need to stop acting like a princess. I'll muster all the courage I can to approach the bucket. Long strands of white ribbons fill the murky air, almost looking like eels. The smell forces me to cover my nose once again. This is disgusting. Vol's snicker draws my attention as he returns. He grabs one of the knives laying on the table and approaches me. Here, let me show you. I watch as his paw dives into the bucket, retrieving one end of the gut. He pulls it out and presses the blade into it. It's not hard, all you need to do is use the back of the knife. The wolf showcases how he places it against the intestinal wall. As you press and pull, everything comes out on its own in the other end. I watch in discomfort as the contents bloating the gut move down towards the bottom of the bucket. Your turn. He passes the knife to me and I swallow heavily. I take a moment to finally take hold of the blade. Vol steps aside and looks at me with an intent gaze. God, I'm going to be sick, I mutter, trying to replicate what he did. Indeed, it's not a hard task, but it has to be one of the most unpleasant things one can do. Especially how the water gets murkier the further along my task I get. And the stench. God, the stench is worse than a sewer. I'm serious, this smells like shit. I protest again, causing the black wolf to laugh. What do you think the... Oh God! What do you think is inside of it? No! I blurt out in panic. I've been so stunned by this grotesque spectacle that the obviousness of the situation completely eluded me. You've lost your damned mind! I snap, throwing the knife into the bucket with a splash. The wolf raises his brow at me. How old are you? You're acting like a pup. Age has nothing to do with it. This is absolutely revolting. He gives me a patronizing stare, but quickly a sadistic smirk appears on his muzzle. You didn't seem to mind when I brought you the sausage. Once you know how the sausage is made, you don't want it anymore. Oh, no. I stumble back. My innards churn anew as if I got punched in the gut and I have to grab my mouth. Covered in the slick gore, the repugnant stench is brought right into my nose, and a real strong gag rocks my body. I wasn't joking. I will kill you if you soil my workshop. He issues another less playful growl. If you need to hurl, do it outside. We're handling food in here, kid. Get a grip. My watery eyes lock with a serious gaze. He's right. I try to contain myself, although it's not an easy task. The wolf throws me a cloth napkin and walks towards the doors. Here, clean yourself up and get back to it. The sooner you'll do it, the faster you'll be done with it. Have fun fishing for your knife. He's evil! He winks and disappears into the shop front. I look begrudgingly as he leaves, throwing my defeated gaze into the muddy bucket. I sigh and simply Oh God! This has to be the most distasteful task I could ever imagine. But I simply keep at it, pushing the blade and scraping the contents of the gut back into the... Oh God! Time ceases to matter, be it 5 minutes or an hour, it all feels like an eternity. The workshop has become my own personal bad place. Once I'm done, I drop the guts back into the dark waters and place the knife onto the table. I'm just standing there like a moron, thinking how I ended up here. This is not how I envisioned my bonding time with the black male. Eventually, Vol checks in on me, walking in with a curious gaze. He picks up the knife and uses it to fish out the gut and pull it up a little. Not bad. He smiles with approval and looks at me with a proud expression. I don't think I'll be able to eat like, ever again. I mumble, really unsettled by the entire task. It'll pass. The wolf shrugs and approaches the table. He opens a tap in the canister-looking contraption, allowing him to wash out the bowl he used to separate the innards. Once he closes the tap, he sloshes the water around and then throws it out the back door. Here. He passes the bowl to me. You need to wash the guts and cut them into 3 feet long segments. He looks back at the rancid bucket. Should give us 10 in total. When you're done, fetch me. And once again, I'm left alone with my bucket of shit. Peachy. I slowly wish that a stab would have finished me off. Seems like mercy compared to this. But no matter how indignant I am, or pouty, I know it has to be done. So I pull out the gut, cut it off, and drop it into the bowl, washing it through. Rinse and repeat until, just as he predicted, I had 10 ribbons of innards slushing in clear water. I take no time to get rid of that disgusting murky bucket and simply slush the water outside. I don't care what possible use you can have to them. They could have used it as rocket fuel for all I care. Once it's empty, I throw the bucket into the grass and close the door behind me. I wash up my hands on my way to the shop front and stop in the doorway. Hang on. I'm trying to, like, find this thing. Oh my god. This is probably the closest one. Okay, here we go. Okay, so like hear me out, because he's not allowed to talk about sausage. Nah, it's not as funny. I was going to make another Chris Chan joke, but nah. Nah. That's when I noticed Varissa on the other side of the counter. Wait, what is he doing here? I'm taking care of him. The male shrugs and I straighten out my cloak. You? Yes. He responds indignantly, but it only causes the female to raise her brow in disbelief. Of your own free will? Yes. Why? Because he needs looking after. Varissa croons, giving me a telling gaze. And what did Rannoch promise you in return? Nothing. I'm doing a favor for a friend. The wolf responds with clear offense in his tone, his body tensing uncomfortably. But she's still unconvinced. Not entirely compensates for your behavior the other day, but I guess it is a start. The female finally concedes with a soft smile, and I can see Vol's tail give an idle flicker. Stop wagging your fucking tail, Vulgor. Stop wagging your tail. You're gonna die, Vulgor. We're gonna poke your body with a stick. His posture relaxes, and it's obvious he takes what she thinks and says very personally. You okay in there? Varissa draws my attention and I blink. Do you want me to take you back to the cottage? This would be a perfect opportunity to escape, but considering I've already did the worst part, and I do want to bond with him, so I shake my head. And he's not mistreating you? She darts her gaze between me and Vol, and I can see the male feels put on a spot. His anxious eyes meet with mine, and it's clear he worries I could drop him in hot water. But no, he did not mistreat me. Again, I shake my head, giving Vol a slight smile to which he almost sighs with relief. Right, keep your secrets. I have more important things to do. However, if he starts to abuse you, just come straight to me. I'm rather unsettled with the idea of anything, let alone anyone, being in Vol's care. She gives him a teasing gaze, chuckling at his bemused expression. I want to pitch in, but before I manage to open my mouth, Vul puts a paw on my shoulder. Cora's incoming. Cora. I lean out and notice the tart strutting the village square as if she owns it. Ugh, scraping shit out of a boar's gut wasn't the worst part of my day. Oh god. Oh god. Hang on. I got this. Okay, so 13, no background. Okay. So here's an idea. Just a simple idea. Okay. No, not that one. Okay, so she definitely looks like a pick-me. Like, she looks like a pick-me, so I'm just going to, like, turn her into a pick-me. Okay, so, oh god, I just realized what you posted. Okay, let me hide Rannoch real quick. And I'll, like, start doing this. Okay, so, we got her phone there. Now she needs the pick-me hair. Long hair, no background. Here we go. License, personal use, whatever. This is totally for personal use. And lastly, oh god, I have like way too many files on this computer. Like, all dedicated to just TikToks. And there we go. We have a pick-me. Talking like a poodle? I was just talking like a poodle. Verissa, my sweets, how are you doing? She almost sings in a melodic tone, embracing the white female. To my surprise, Verissa is quite receptive to this display of affection. I see you got that wine stain out all right. Yeah, took a lot of salt and vinegar. Felt as if I was marinating myself. Been there, sister. The tart laughs, but her eyes immediately center on me. Well, look at here, Rannoch's new ward. Ugh, go away. So, how's our little pet doing? He's fine. Vul shrugs indifferently. You know, I feel bad for ignoring him at the feast, but the poor fellow looked completely petrified. Didn't want to add to his plate. Having an entire village stare him down was bad enough. You could say that again. Oh no, she's considerate. It's good to see him out and about, though. I must say, he's quite an improvement over that ever-frowning bunny. He was giving me the jibbies. Yeah, Trist is definitely a work in progress. And she's shit-talking Trist. Why can't I just hate you? Oh, I'm sure now that he got the boot, the chief will break him in no problem. Here's hoping. Her smile widens, and I have to agree. Fuck Trist. Oh shit, here he comes. How do I look? Suddenly the female readjusts herself, noticing some wolf in the distance. She's pushing her boobs up as if they need to be fuller and takes on a more seductive pose. You look great. Yep, can't argue with that. Well, I'm missing the main selling point. You mean Rannoch, whose arms you could leap? Wait, what? Indeed. She frowns for a moment, but again tries to look as presentable as possible, taking discreet glances at the strapping male who slowly disappears into the distance. Damn. Cora mutters in disappointment. Rannoch really is the lure here. She sighs and looks back to Verissa with a sorrowful gaze. Wait, is she using Rannoch as bait to catch the interest of other males? Last time worked like a charm. Colin would not take his eyes off of me the entire following day. I was all he could look at. I still can't believe that none have figured it out yet. Verissa rolls her eyes in amusement, shaking her head slightly, and I got my answer. She is. You two have been doing this for ages. Can males really be that stupid? And Rannoch is in on this? This makes so much sense, but she helps him keep other females at bay while he makes her look like a prize to other guys. Sneaky sneaks. Okay, lady, you're not a tart, you're a smart cookie. Doing what? Vol blurts in, and I can hardly contain a laugh. Material girl. Never you mind. Verissa dismisses him, and I snort. Seems males can be that stupid. Full is dead convinced Cora and Rannoch are an item. I've been here just a week and I've figured it out. It's not like they're subtle about it either. Anyway, I gotta run. The pups are alone without any supervision. Wait, why are you taking care of the pups? Verissa blinks in confusion. The den mother is still not feeling well enough, so I decided to step in. Besides, with the pack on, it gives me something to do. Anything to keep the mind occupied, eh? Cora's expression falters, and it's clear she's hiding distress. I'm not the only one who picked up on it, and Verissa places upon her shoulder reassuringly. Rannoch will find out what's going on. I'm sure he will. I just hope nothing bad happened. Delron is very reckless, you know? I kind of feel bad I didn't leave with them. Survivor's guilt. Vol scoffs and I widen my eyes. They're not dead. Not confirmed, at least. He shrugs. What the fuck, Vol? Ugh, you always know how to brighten the mood. Is it wise to leave that pup in his care? The female looks to me with worry. I was just asking myself the same question. Verissa narrows her eyes and she gives me a very inquisitive gaze. Bye. Have a good one. I shudder slightly because I really don't want to be dragged into this. You females are all the same. He's doing fine. If you are that desperate for a pup to coddle, just get yourself knocked up already. Oh my god, no he didn't. He did not just say that. I gasped just as loud as the females are. Had he just not took the air out of our collective lungs, Cora would have noticed, but we're all too stunned. How about I get in there and knock your teeth out instead? I can't understand why Rannoch puts up with you. It's almost a beggar's belief. Don't worry, I'm not despoiling your dream, mate. We're not like that. The male sneers and I'm about to grab my head. What are you doing? Seriously, gross. Cora grimaces in shock. Good thing the human doesn't understand you, otherwise you'd ruin the pup with your filthy muzzle. If only she knew. I'd say you ruined him by turning the whelp into a flower. Oh my god, Vol, you really need to get out of your own way. I can see Verissa losing patience again, and had we been behind closed doors, Rannoch's table would suffer through another bout of abuse. Don't you worry, little guy. Rannoch will be back soon and take you home from that meanie. The tawny female draws my attention to her as she bends over to me slightly with a kind smile. He's a good wolf. Unlike some. She rolls her eyes in Vol's direction. He'll take great care of you, just don't give him the stink eye. Another tryst jab, confirmed by a wink. I almost let out a chuckle. The female straightens up and looks to Verissa with worry. In all honesty, I hope this one will work out. Actually, they're getting along quite well. Oh, they do? That's great to hear. Cora smiles with relief. Aluna knows that male needs some good company. Talk about a lone wolf. Anyway, see you later at the feast. She nods to me and Verissa, ignoring Vol, and rushes off into the village. Bye. Verissa waves back and waits for the girl to make some distance before she faces Vol with a really stern look. We stand like this in uncomfortable silence for a while, until the Black Wolf shrugs in annoyance. What? If I so much as hear a peep from him that you've been mistreating Guy, I will never speak to you again. She states sternly, Understood? You're exaggerating a little bit. Do you understand me? I want to hear you say it. Is that like a JoJo reference? I haven't watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I really need to watch it. She reiterates through a soft growl. Loud and clear. Good. The female nods and looks to me. You let me know when he crosses the line. I know he's bound to. And with that, she leaves. Damn, that went south fast. Then again, with Vol, it's always the case. I looked at him with slight worry and disappointment. I know he's capable of better. He wants to be better. And I can see a subtle shift in his expression as his longing eyes follow the departing white female. He's clearly saddened and defeated. Vol, I don't want to talk about it. He states sternly, the moment of weakness gone from his muzzle as he gives me a scornful look. Let's get back to work. I follow him into the back room where he stands in front of the bowl. What now? Now you'll invert and clean them. What? I blink in confusion. I'll show you. Great. I watch as the wolf pushes the bowl under the tank thingy. He readjusts the canister so that the tap overhangs the bowl. This part is easy. He'll grab an intestine and spindle. The wolf picks up a metal spike with a dull tip and brings it close to one of the gut cuts. Just rub the end until it opens up and slide the spindle in. Now pull the edge over your thumb. He inverts one half of the opening and stretches it over his finger like a balloon. Huh. See? That's how we'll invert it. Oh. You just remove the spindle and I'll slide it from the other side behind your thumb. Now we've created a cuff. He smiles, showing off his handiwork. I'm surprised it doesn't rip. Guts are incredibly strong. They can take a lot. Now we pull the cuff over the tap and turn it on. The wolf nods and I do as he requested. I watch as the cuff fills with water, bloating the intestine, while Vol just threads it through and allows the weight of the filled-up gut to do the work for him. What the hell? See? It isn't all that bad. Now that it's inverted, just scrape it again with the back of the knife and clean. He showcases... removing the inner lining of the intestine, leaving a near see-through balloon-like tube. Oh god, I understood the joke. I understood that joke you made, oh god. Fetch me once you do the rest. He stands up and slaps me on the back hard enough to draw air out of my lungs. I look at him with amusement as he leaves to the shop front. I'm fairly certain I figured him out. Every time something upsets him, he simply burrows himself back into work. I shake my head and decide to simply commit to my task. The first casing is a struggle, but I'm too proud to call him back for a second demonstration. I simply retrace his steps slowly, trying to understand what the hell it is I'm doing. I rub the end until it opens up, using the spindle, use my thumb as leverage to leverage the one side and push the spindle from underneath. Finally, the cuff resembles what he has done, and I start pouring water in. The gut blots like a balloon, threading itself over onto the other side. Huh, as distasteful as this is, I'm incredibly amazed how the hell someone came up with this. It's almost like an art form. Once each inverted gut is scraped of its lining and washed clean in the water, I go and fetch the black male. He enters the back room surprised, almost as if he did not expect me to be done this soon. Well, well, we'll make a butcher out of you yet. The wolf places a paw over my shoulder, and despite enjoying his praise, I try to play it off cool. You have successfully put me off from meat. 'Tis yet to be seen. He snickers and checks one of the see-through ribbons. You haven't ripped any of them as well, huh? Are we done then? I mumble worriedly and he laughs it off. Stop your whining and come. He waves at me and walks towards one of the barrels. Open up the lid. I nod and do as he asked. The moment the lid is off, the room fills with a very acidic odor. Oof, that is a really sour smell. It's pickling salt. It'll cure them and make them safe to eat. He grabs a pawful of the casings and dunks them in. Once he's done, I put the lid back on and he nods towards a small clay bottle. Bring it here. We need to wash up. I open up the cork and the familiar boozy scent hits my nose. It's moonshine. I realize and he just nods. Yeah, just drizzle it on my paws. I sprinkle the alcohol, he rubs it in fervently. Seems that working improved his mood, or maybe showing me the ropes is more enjoyable than he thought. Whatever the case, I'm glad for it. Once he's done, he grabs a bottle from me and douses my hands in turn. I'm not sure if they know what bacteria are, but I have to admit, I'm impressed by their hygiene. I scrub my arms all the way up to the elbow just to make sure I didn't leave a spot. Right, go there and turn the wheel. He points to the giant wooden box that I assume is the grinder. The wheel does give some resistance, but eventually it budges, and I can hear all sorts of gears clamor inside. Vol pours some of the moonshine onto the top and it sloshes through the inner workings of the machine. As I continue to turn, the contents eventually spill out the tube in front, meaning the machine got disinfected. He's really diligent with his work. When it's all finished, Vol plugs the bottle and places it back on the table. Let's get the sausages ready. Your meat won't be marinated until tomorrow, but I've got some in stock from yesterday. He lifts up a lid from another barrel and I can see the meat swishing around in herbs and brine. Do you see that metal bowl? The wolf points to the side and I locate his query with a nod. Bring it here, douse with moonshine and slush it out. He watches with approval as I follow the instructions and once I'm done, he smiles. Right, fill it up with meat and dunk it into the grinder. As I did that, he began plucking garlic from strands hanging on the wall, along with onions and some other herbs. I observe as he peels the vegetables, but he doesn't chop them. Instead, he breaks the garlic into cloves and simply cuts onions in half. Every 2 bowls of meat I put into the grinder, he chucks in 1 halved onion accompanied with several garlic cloves and a bundle of thyme. I wonder if I should tell him to go easy on the garlic, but I shake my head. Once I'm finished unloading my 10th bowl, he stops me with a paw. That's enough. He passes me a small wooden box and points to the side shelf. Grab a mortar and grind several of those pellets. Curiously, I glance inside the container only to be met by familiar black seeds. Pepper? You do know it then. Perhaps Rannoch isn't wrong, and I am a noble, yes. I sigh with amusement. It never gets old. Pepper isn't that uncommon where I come. Quiet. He ushers me as his ear begins to twitch again. Not a moment later, we can hear Vither's voice echo from the outside. Vulgor, you there? Shit. Stay in here. He commands, stepping into the shop. I came to get my meat for the week. You busy? No. What cuts do you need? Just the usual. Give me some chops and ribs if you have any. Oh, livers and kidneys too. I'll take all you've got. All of them? The Black Wolf sounds confused and Vither laughs. Yes, I'll be making pies for the packs in case we'll have to send them after Rannoch. I don't like the sound of that. Speaking of... His tone shifts slightly. Cora says your pup sitting that human. Why would he need sitting anyway? I can hear Vol pause almost as if he wasn't happy about revealing my presence to the black male. Well, he doesn't. Undignified task for an alpha like you. Seems like a waste of your time. He's quite useful, I can assure you. Mind if I see the wee bugger? Another long pause and I'm quite unnerved by Vol's reluctance. After all, I've been in the shop all day. Everyone saw me. Why make an exception with Vither? Ugh, Piglet. He eventually calls out and I take it as a cue to step outside. So, what is he doing here? Sweeping floors and staying out of your way? The male laughs, but something about his words doesn't sit well with Vol. On the contrary, he's helping me with work. Oh. The older male blinks, looking at me inquisitively. Is he a butcher then? Again, Vol lets the words hang and it doesn't bid well. No, I'm teaching him the ropes. Ah, so he became your apprentice. If you say so. My, that is quite something, isn't it? I suppose this will add on to his debt, eh? Wait, what? Rarely do you see wards gaining free trade skills during their tenure. Again, if you say so. Vol mutters defeatedly, and I realize I've just gotten busted on something neither of us considered. Maybe I should take him under my wing as well. I could use a paw around the bakery. He'd learn another trade, too. I think butchery is all he can afford. The Black Wolf places an emphasis on the last word, and I swallow heavily. Shit, did we both make a mistake by bringing me here? But Vither is the nice one, isn't he? Considering he's in quite a debt already, he can't afford much anyway, eh? The male laughs it off and simply looks at me with a kinder smile. Don't worry, I won't let the elders know. I better play it off as if he were a butcher after all. No need getting him chained down over a trade skill you forced onto him. Vol's expression brightened slightly, and my faith in the brown male got restored. Thank you, Vither. This really isn't what it looks like. Of course, it isn't. The older male waves his paw. We all want the other king gone as fast as possible, I'm sure. He looks to the black male with a grin. So, about my meat. Yes, let me get that ready for you. Vul shoves me into the back room and I help him fetch different slabs of meat resting on shelves and hooks. As we get Vither's order ready, the black wolf approaches me with a hushed whisper. Our day's near done here, so we need to think of dinner. Is steak and onion pie good with you? Sure. I shrug and he nods with satisfaction. Although my appetite for meat is quite low, I'm not going to bitch about it now. The wolf pats my shoulder as he carries his load back into the shop and I follow suit. He places the slabs onto the counter and Vither goes through them one by one. Good, good, these will do nicely. And the livers and kidneys? I'll bring them to you on our way back home. Perfect. He claps his paws and reaches out to a small pouch hanging from his belt. The male places a silver octagonal coin on the counter and pushes it towards Vul, but the black male shakes his head. Keep that for now. In turn, you can bake us dinner. Oh? Vither raises a brow. What have you in mind? I'll give you a cut of steak if you make it into one of your pies. We'll call it even. Ha! The older male laughs loudly. Pleasure doing business with you, lad. Alas, take it. I like to keep my ledgers squared. Besides, wouldn't want to think you're trying to bribe me. He winks playfully, but just like Vul, I'm not sure I find it amusing. What about our dinner? Baking one extra pie is hardly worth a week's supply of meat, Vul. He shakes his head, picking up the entire assortment of cuts. And I got quite used to bacon for that whelp. Keep an eye on him for me, eh? Will do. The black male nods and picks up the coin, watching Vither take his leave. I look at it curiously. It's not like any money I've ever seen. What's this? I'll finally ask, once we're free to resume a conversation. Vither's token. A token? My bemused expression reveals I don't understand what he's talking about. The male sighs and reaches down beneath the back counter to receive a small chest. We don't usually use hard currency within the tribe. We barter with those. He flicks the coin. Each wolf has his own personal set. You give them in exchange for services. An IOU. I utter, through satisfied realization. Yeah, you get it. Can you make as many as you like? No, they're made out of true silver, and there's always a specific amount. Tribes wolves have 4, alphas get 6, elders have the most, each owning 8 tokens. What about the chief? I ask curiously. The chief doesn't need any. The entire tribe works for him. True. I nod. What if you run out of your tokens? Then you barter with the ones you have, like this one. He flicks Vither's coin yet again, and then drops it into the chest. Huh. Before you ask what happens when a wolf doesn't have any left, it means he's a shitty wolf who doesn't pull his weight. He shuts the chest and pushes it aside. Ouch. I tense. I tease. He's not really the one to mince words. He notices my gaze still drilling into the chest and decides to humor me. Very well, I'll let you have a look. He opens it up once again and rummages through the various coins. There's quite a few in there. Seems like the entire village owes him. I watch as his paw picks up several round-shaped tokens, which he then places one by one on the counter. They have embossed edges with a full moon in the middle. However, its surface is etched in such a fashion that it appears dark, just like his moonstone. Here, those are mine. He states with a smile, and I pick up one to have a closer look. The reverse sports intricate pattern framing his name. Vulgor. You have all 6, I mutter with amazement. He clearly wants for nothing. Being a butcher means that wolves need my services more often than I need theirs. Cool. But how do you trade with outsiders? I ask, toying with the tokens. With gold. He shrugs. We do have foreign coins, but they're all held in the tribe's treasury. Each wolf has a claim to a share based on their station and contribution. Should we need funds to trade outside, we just request them from the chief. The black male pauses, looking intently into the distance as if recalling something. Last time I did that was when I bought that dress. I even asked for an advance. It took me 2 years to repay it. He scoffs, scolding his own foolishness. Damn. I mutter uncomfortably, but he doesn't allow me to linger on it. It's yours now. Just keep in mind that it didn't come cheap. So, don't fuck it up doing something stupid in it. He bops my shoulder teasingly and I smile, but then my eyes drift to a coin in the chest unlike any other. While the rest is just silver, this one is inlaid with a white stone and a woven palm boast in the middle of a full moon. He notices as I reach for it and smiles with satisfaction, as I rub the crust of my own collar. Huh, is this Ranox? I ask needlessly, as the reverse disperses any of my doubts. Yep, your wolf is a big spender. His tokens are always scattered to the 4 winds. Vul snickers and then gives me a challenging smirk. currently on your account. But he does pull his weight, I'm sure. I try to brush it off, but it does get me worried. Yeah, he does. Would be a shame if his ward didn't. He clearly jabs at this waste of time, and I simply flick the coin back in. The wolf collects his tokens and places them securely inside the chest. Once he's stashed it away, he simply nods towards me. Let's finish with the sausages. Ugh. We return into the back room, and Vol places a large tub underneath the grinder. He points to the wheel, and I take my position. With all the meat inside, the gears give a lot of resistance, so I have to take a strong perch with my legs. I strain slightly to get the wheel going, but once it turns, the following rotations require much less force. I can hear the meat and herbs squelch and burp as they go through the cogs, and eventually a pinkish mince begins to drop into the tub on the other end. Why are you so unnerved with Vither? Everyone saw me working here. I wasn't unnerved, I was just... He pauses to find a better word, as if it mattered. Other wolves won't dare poke into my affairs, or question what I'm doing. Vither is the only one who does. He's also one of the wolves who can increase your obligations to the tribe based on circumstances, which he suggested. I cringe a little. I don't think he means to do it, but should he say too much to the chief, we could get in serious trouble. Keep your wits around him. He's friendly, but too close to the source of power for comfort. I nod in understanding. When all of the meat went through, the resistance in the gears lets go entirely, and I can turn the wheel freely. It's the signal that we're done, but that's when Vol points to the mortar we abandoned when Vither interrupted us. Crush it as finely as you can. He mutters as he douses his hands with moonshine again. The crunching sound of pepper beneath the pestle is quite satisfying, and it doesn't take long until all of the seeds are turned into nice powder. Once it's done, the wolf invites me over as he plunges his paws into the mince. Sprinkle it over as I fold it in. The wolf commands, and I nod. I observe him mix the meat by paw, which is just as well. There are quite a large concentration of onions and herbs due to our loading ratios. It's quite impressive watching his muscles bulge and strain as he works the mince into an even consistency. The smell is nice too, such a stark contrast to my earlier task. Once he's done, he scrapes the meat off his paws and looks towards the bottle. I shake it a little and it's nearly empty. I pour the remaining booze over his paws and he washes them throughout. The wolf then takes a squat and with quite an effort lifts the tub back up to dump the contents into the grinder once again. With the contraption filled, he then fixes a nozzle to the front which reduces the diameter of the feeding tube. I watch as he fills up a bowl with some clear water from the tank and retrieves a bunch of bringed casings from the barrel. He rinses them off from the excess salt water and simply pulls onto the nozzle. That's when he nods towards the wheel. Again, this time with less effort, I turn it, forcing the grinder to work. The meat makes less noise on its passage, and I smile seeing as it squirts into the casing, filling them up and pushing out a decent-sized sausage. Every now and then Vol twists the string, separating it into smaller segments and creating a proper chain. It's quite satisfying seeing how it's made. Once a casing is spent, he stops me from turning the wheel and replaces it with another, while depositing a finished string onto a hook. We continue our work for maybe an hour or so, making in total 10 sausage chains. Vol eventually collects them onto a long prong, and I just have to admire this lovely curtain of wieners we just made. I'll take them to the smoke room. They'll spend the night there getting ready for tomorrow. I nod and watch the wolf leave. I lean against the table and rest up a bit. My arms hurt a little, especially the upper parts, but not gonna lie, having this much work done does feel good. Much better than being cooped up in the house, that's for sure. The wolf returns momentarily and wastes no time. He places the meat tub beneath the grinder and walks towards the water tank. He gives it an idle poke to gauge the water levels as it resonates loudly. Should be enough. He takes a bowl and opens the tap, allowing the water to gush freely. Once he fills it up, he points towards the grinder again. I'll pour through the top and you turn the wheel. Gotta clean the machine. Sure. I smile and rush eagerly to my station. It doesn't take long or much effort. The water slushes out into the tub with different bits and pieces that were stuck inside. We repeat it two more times until the water comes out clear and Vol simply disposes of it out the back. If you could brush the floors while I get Vither's order ready, we can head back home. I nod and fetch the broom. There's not much to sweep, but I make sure not to leave this place worse than I found it. I reach underneath the table and grinder, sweeping anything that I can find. Eventually, a small heap of dust, onion, and garlic peels forms near the door, and I simply push it outside. Once done, I sigh and admire the clean room. My, what a crazy day. Piglet? Vol calls out, announcing that it's time to leave, and I put the broom back. As I step outside, I notice that most of the wolves disappeared. The shop fronts are empty or boarded up, and even the smithy stores are shut. the workday is truly over. Despite my earlier statements, I have worked up quite an appetite. Have to admit, for a whiny little bitch, you did quite well today. Again, a backhanded compliment, but I've learned by now this is as good as it's gonna get. The wolf bends down to pick up the bucket filled with a mixture of dark purple and reddish-brown innards. I wince uncomfortably as it sloshes around as we proceed to leave the shop. You can moan all you like, but those are very nutritious. Maybe. I just hope they won't come in handy. I mutter, not because I'm disgusted. To be fair, the pie I had was quite nice. I'm simply worried because Vithar suggested they'll be made into rations for potential search parties, should Rannoch go missing. The Black Wolf picks up on my slight shift and he reads me like an open book. He'll be fine. And I don't say this lightly. He continues trying to reassure me. Rannoch is one of the few wolves who don't need help. I narrow my brows. He's a wolf. What is a wolf without his pack? The male blinks and looks at me with slight confusion as if I accidentally said something profound. He's all alone out there. Well, worrying about it won't help, and should anything go awry... He bumps into my shoulder. I'll go and find him. You're not the only one who cares. I watch as he tugs on his moonstone. He's my moon brother, after all. If anything should happen, I'll traverse the entire world to find him. I smile, feeling quite comforted by the idea. I definitely would not want to be the one in Vol's path, should he be on a quest to find a loved one. Vithar? The male calls out as we come to a stop in front of the bakery. Vithar steps out of his house with a large pie in his paws. It's still steaming as he hands it over to me, and the smell makes my mouth water. Should be cool enough to handle. He winks, facing the Black Wolf. So, that's all you got? Vol nods and passes the bucket to the brown male. I suppose. It should be enough for a dozen pies if I use some sweat as a filter. That's 2 packs worth. Indeed. Well, hopefully it won't come to that, but who knows. Better be prepared, eh? My heart sinks a little at the comment, and the Black Wolf notices it. Vol only flashes his brows and shoves me slightly. We better get going. Been a long day. Yes, yes. Enjoy. Oh, and Vol, it's nice to see you keep the whelp some company. Just keeping an eye on him as required. The black male grumbles, and Vithar laughs in clear disbelief, walking off to his house. As we approach the cottage, the smell of the pie teases my nose, and I have to admit, I've worked up quite an appetite. Once at the cabin, Vol pulls my shoulder, and that causes me to stop. That was a good day's work. Indeed. But before we get settled, let's get your wood restocked. Oh, right. I mumble brutally, not really keen on more chores, but I guess I have to fuel the fire somehow. I jump over the uneven step and approach the porch table to leave the pie there. When I return, Vol has already opened the shed and now picks through the different blocks. Most of it is already cut to size, but we'll get some of the big ones too. He states, chucking out different logs. The wolf retrieves an axe and sets up a wood block on a nearby trunk. Here you go. He passes me the chopper. I don't think I've ever done this before. Did you do anything before? He sneers and I roll my eyes. Nothing to it, just swing it like the meat cleaver. To think all that hacking was preparing me to chop wood. I simply sigh and arch myself to take a wide swing. As the blade sinks into the log, my muscles cramp at the sudden stop. I didn't even get in deep. You don't need to swing that hard. He laughs in amusement. You're going to hurt yourself and then Rannoch will be up my ass. Here. He brushes me aside and takes the axe from me. You just hit enough to wedge it in. Uncharacteristically to his strength, he just pokes the top of the wood enough to get the blade an inch or two. Then you just tap and it splits on its own. See? He demonstrates and it looks so effortless. Damn. He passes me the hatchet and lets me try. Indeed, his method requires much less force and is so much easier. I split maybe 4 or 5 logs, slowly as looking at the slowly growing pile. How many more? I ask, uncertain if I should continue. I'd say it's enough. Should last you for a day or two. And now that you know your way around the axe, you'll be able to fetch it yourself when needed. I smile and nod in gratitude. He taught me quite a lot, and all in one day. I collect the wood as he put the axe away and locks the shed. Once we're ready to go, my stomach makes the most embarrassing rambling sound, causing the wolf to snort. I'm starving. So I hear. As we enter the kitchen, Vol drops the wood near the hearth while I place the pie onto the table. As he arranges the logs in the niche below, I fetch 2 tankards and rush towards the barrel. Reading my damned mind, Piglet. The wolf croons, nodding in approval, as I dunk them into the dark liquid. With the wheat gone, nearly half of the thing is emptied. I return the fizzing mugs to the table and get 2 plates set up. Once Vol is done, he brushes off his paws and seats himself comfortably, watching as I rustle about. I could get used to that. No wonder Rannoch's so set on ya. He snickers, watching as I cut the pie in 2 and place a half on the plate in front of him. If you act nice, I could even give you a massage. I tease and his ears perk up, getting slightly red on the inside. He's the touchy one. You keep your paws to yourself. He scoffs and I cannot help but chuckle. Both of them are easy to fluster. Now that Verissa made me aware of Rannoch's game, seems you can play with anyone. We sit like this for a while, me digging into the pie and Vol trying to regain his composure. For someone so tough, it's quite easy to ruffle his fur in the awkward way. Eventually, he lets go of his scowl and also joins in the meal. Considering he hasn't eaten since yesterday, I'm surprised he's not ravenous. I'm devouring the pie with large swigs of the fork. It does hit the spot and pairs excellently with the beer. Here you go. You've earned it. Vol flicks something across the table. It clanks merrily the entire length until I grab it just before it falls off the edge. What's this? I mutter, taking a closer look. It's Rannoch's token. Once he's back, you'll be able to give it to him. To pay off his IOU, should you wish. He jests and I furrow my brows. Of course I'll give it back to him. Good pet. Maybe I should get one. He proposes teasingly, but quickly snorts it off. Then again, I do not have debts around to be worked off like your master. Ugh. I walk off to the cupboard and place the coin in one of the drawers. As I return to the table, I notice Vol's tail swaying idly from side to side. Oh god. Almost like lethargic movement, it's the most animated I've ever seen it. He clearly enjoyed spending the day together, that's for sure. I take my seat with a hardly contained smile and he notices it, giving me a confused look. What are you grinning at? Nothing. I shake my head, continuing with my share of the pie. I guess he really likes company, just doesn't know how to enjoy it. So, what's your plan for the rest of the day? I ask between each mouthful. Pups at you until it's time to head off to the feast. I assume I'm still not welcome there? It's better you keep to yourself while Rannoch's gone. Safer that way. He shrugs, taking an idle sip. Yeah. Also, you need to get some rest. The wolf nods towards the bedroom. I'll be waking you up at the same time tomorrow. Oh joy. I snicker and we remain silent for a short moment. Vol downs a gulp of the ale and checks the bottom of the mug. I'm about to offer to refill it for him when he stands up and walks towards the barrel himself. I still wonder if having you out and about is a good idea. Even at my shop, the wolves are taking active interest in you. Well, that's what Rannoch wanted, for me to stop being a secret. I mutter, watching him dunk the tankard. The longer I'm kept hidden, the more exotic and fascinating I become. Shove me into the butchery and I blend in with other wards. The wolf scoffs through his smile as he takes his seat again. I suppose you're right. Size-wise, you do fit well with the bunnies. He teases and I roll my eyes. Ha ha. But seriously, we need to get you buffed up. His tone shifts a little. If those females had their way, you'd forever remain a flowery twig. I think they're just caring. I am rather fragile. I admit, looking at my slender body. There's not an ounce of fat underneath my skin, but also very little muscle. It's almost like I maintained the most healthy but inactive life before waking up here. Very fragile. You can say that again. He smirks in agreement. I mumble, picking on my pie. Maybe some working out wouldn't be that bad. My memory might be failing me, but I don't think I used to be this frail. Speaking of females, I do think you need to give them some slack. Verissa's looking out for me. As for Cora, I ponder for a moment. Well, she seems nice. I wasn't quite sure about her before, but now she's already spoken for. He throws in randomly, as if to squash any notions in my mind. By Rannoch? I retort mockingly, remembering the comment Verissa made. Why is it funny? No reason. I shrug. The two of them have been making googly eyes for one another since we were teens. They're obviously into each other. I flash my brows challengingly. They're not the only ones. My voice takes on a teasing tone. What's that supposed to mean? I noticed you sneaking longing gazes at Verissa. The wolf's eyes open wide as if he's stunned by my forwardness. It's time he tasted his own medicine. She is quite beautiful, I say as if agreeing with his unspoken assessment. I'm not having this conversation with you, Piglet. Vol subdues a growl, but I brush it off with a chuckle. Why not? I think you should. I don't care what you think. Precisely. I agree, throwing off his trail of thought and causing the male to blink. I need to reason with him. We didn't spend the entire day working together to not even be able to have an honest conversation. The only other person you could talk with is Rannoch, and you're too worried about his opinion to risk making a fool of yourself. With me, you can talk freely. Ugh, you start to sound like fucking Tano. He sneers, taking a thirsty gulp from his mug. You mean I'm being perceptive? I mean you're being an annoying little prick who sticks his nose in other people's business. His mug clanks against the table as he gives me a rather aggravated gaze. Yeah. Come on, Vol. We both know you have a crush on her. I think you two could make it work. I see he's struggling to contain a growl, but if I don't try to push, we'll never get a proper rapport. You're both duty-bound, honorable, and extremely work-oriented. You just need to drop the bad boy act and open up to her a little. What act? He snarls softly, giving me a clear warning. You think I was acting when I put your lights out? Ugh. I sigh in resignation. There's no talking to him, is there? I wonder how Rannoch deals with this. My wolf is extremely patient, though. Perhaps that's the key? I decide not to draw this out longer than it needs to be, and just get to the point. Listen, I've spent some time with Verissa. I think I had enough one-on-ones with her to know what she needs. She's just desperate for some human touch. The scrape of wood echoes across the room as the wolf stands up and slams his paw onto the table, giving me a murderous gaze. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Oh no. I don't even get to blink when the table flies across the room and his paws connect with my throat, shoving me against the back wall. My feet wriggle in panic as the floor disappears from beneath and I'm suspended from his hold. If you so much as touched her... What? No! I realize my mistake a second too late. Slip of the tongue! Full! I cry out desperately as he squeezes my throat tighter. I can hear my heart pound in my head as I'm getting starved for air. Please! It's just an expression! My mind begins to slip away, but his rattled breath slows down and he finally lets go of me. I slip out of his paws and drop to the floor like a rag doll, and the pounding in my head subsides. Fuck, Vol, what the hell? I gasp, rubbing my abused neck, which is aching once again on the account of the black wolf. You really need to work on your word choices. The male tries to scoff indifferently, but I can see his mortified expression. And you, on your fucking temper. He locks his gaze with his paws, looking at them as if they were covered in blood. I'm so confused. I check my own neck to ensure he didn't do any permanent harm. There's no blood, just a bruise. Eventually, he simply shakes his head and clutches his fists. I don't need this shit. He growls and rushes out of the house. Vol, wait, get back here! I try to call out, but he slams the doors behind him. We're gonna leave off here tonight. He did. What the fuck, Vol? This is typical Batman behavior. Vulgor is fucking Batman. Anyways, I'm gonna hop off here. I thought so too. Anyways, stay safe, have a good night, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.